So Mary, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, thank you. I'd like to introduce Joe Turner of Turner Magic. He has been a corporate magician and speaker host for over 20 years, and he's performed on different continents, over 6 continents, and thousands of venues, both on land and sea. We actually used Joe for our last customer virtual event that we held, and that's where we bring clients in through Zoom meeting and talk about the really thrilling discussion of taxes and all those type things. So we brought Joe in to try to spice things up a little bit and bring a little bit of laughter and fun to otherwise boring topics. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Joe and let him show his magic, so to speak.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. If you can hear me, give me some kind of visual signal so I can tell everything fantastic. If I'm not full screen for you, I would suggest you pin me, but I believe I've been spotlighted, so you should be able to see everything pretty clearly. My name is Joe Turner. It is true, Mary, thank you for that introduction. I've been working as a professional speaker and entertainer for the last 20 years and change. In fact, when I was performing on a cruise ship last February, when the ports started to close around me, and I came home, I got off in Singapore and got my little behind back to the United States as quickly as I could, and it's been quite a year. We're going to talk about that. I will say before we go any further, I'm not a Rotarian, but I grew up in Rotary. My grandfather was a district governor back in my youth, back in the 70s, and so I knew the four-way test before I knew my multiplication tables. So that has been part of my life throughout the last several decades. As a speaker and entertainer, I'm often called upon, as Mary said, to add levity and humor, and of course magic is fun. And I'll be honest with you, when I saw today's meeting coming up, I was a little concerned because it's been probably a difficult time for a lot of us to think, well, let's laugh and be happy. It can be a challenge. And it's often said that the speaker or the teacher teaches the things that he or she needs to learn. And so I'm going to share with you today 3 ideas that are going to be sort of core values for me in the coming year. And that's partly speaking to myself, and I hope that you can take something out of it too. But of course, there will be magic involved. And I will say this, when people think of magicians, they think, number one, they want to know, can you make something disappear? That's like the first thing they want to know. If you're a magician, can you make, this person disappear, or this problem disappear, or this virus disappear, or all the stuff? And and they're just trying to participate and act, make conversation. I get it. I've been asked to make people's wives and husbands disappear, all that stuff. But have you ever thought about when something disappears, where does it go? Well, I'm going to try to illustrate that for you with this rubber ball, and I think this is where it goes. This piece of plastic doesn't look like much. It's just, I guess, PVC kind of plastic. And it's got, these are actually brain waves that are printed on there. These look like mine. They're very tightly wound and dense, and yeah, that's pretty much my personality right there. And then somebody on this side is a little bit looser-gooser. I don't know what's going on. Looks like maybe some CBD oil got in there somewhere. I'm not sure what's going on with that. But here's the idea. We're going to try to make the ball disappear, and it disappears when it goes through this portal. Like, all the socks in the laundry and the drink that disappears from the cooler. Remember when we were tailgating and stuff would happen? That was fun. But let's just try it. We'll put it in the portal, and with any luck, it disappears. And that's what's so weird, is if I reach inside there, I can rummage around to the bottom of the ice chest and find it. I'm going to try it again because I'm not sure you were able to see it the first time, but you can see it's completely gone unless I rummage around, and oh, I think it went up a little bit that time. Now at this point, people start to have theories or hypotheses about what's happening. They think, well, maybe it disappears the minute that it goes through the hole, but it doesn't disappear at that moment. it doesn't disappear until I let go of it. And then it vanishes completely. And if I reach way up there, I might be able to find where it went. And that, my friends, is a pretty awesome bit of magic. And I can tell, oh, thank you for that. Oh, wait a second. I think there might be something else in there. Oh yeah, it's that last drink from the cooler. Hey, it's champagne. That means it's time for a celebration. Actually, what time is it? It's only 12:30, so we'll save it for another few hours, but we'll break it out later. So there you go. I want to talk about the first thing I'm going to try to change about the way I deal with what's happening around me in the coming year, and it's something I alluded to. If you followed me over the past several months. In fact, I'm going to put all of my information in the chat so you can connect with me on LinkedIn and the other channels, whichever ones still exist by the end of the week. We don't know. Could be anything. Who knows? But connect with me anywhere you like. I'm everywhere. And one of the things I talked about in the past year was how important it was to try to put your attention on the things that you can actually do something about, right? The things that are within your control or where you want to put your action. And I've really felt that inside me over the last several months, the last several weeks, and even the last several days, is that I'm going to challenge myself to focus more effectively on the things that I can actually do, the things that I have control over and my responsibilities, the things that I can do well. And that's where I'm going to put my focus this year. I've wasted a lot of time focusing on other people's actions, other people's decision making, what other people think about this person or this thing or that thing, none of which I can control, none of which I can do a darn thing about. So I feel like I'm going to be more effective for me, for my family, for my business, for the people around me, if I focus on the actions I can take, the actions I can do that really have an effect. And I think that's one of my challenges for myself this year. There's another challenge, and I want to share it with you now, but it's more interactive. And so for this next segment, I'm going to need everyone watching to think of a number. Let's say a 2-digit number. That'll give us a pretty wide range. And I'm going to ask several of you to call out your number. So be ready to unmute yourselves. And when I ask you your number, if somebody says the number you were thinking of, switch in your mind to a different number. So after I have a few of them called, we have them from across the whole spectrum, right? We don't want all the numbers in the 20s. We want them spread out. So we have a nice selection. So let me just start with Anne, who was the first person I saw on the call when I joined today. Anne, if you would unmute. Thank you very much. What is the 2-digit number that you were thinking of?
14.
14. Is there a particular reason that you said the number 14?
It's my oldest daughter's birthday number.
Your oldest daughter's birthday. I'm trying to close in just a little bit so you can see. We're going to zoom in. So 14, fantastic. And let's move on down the row to Mary. I saw Mary earlier today. If you're on, can you unmute?
Okay, I'm
And
here.
what's your 2-digit number?
I'll choose, let's go with 28.
28. Any particular reason that you said 28?
That was the year, that's how old I was when I got married, so.
How old you were when you got married? Very good.
Yes.
All right, so we got 14 and 28. And I see, let's see, Eric Landblom?
Yes.
How do you say your name?
Landblom.
Landblom. What's your number, sir?
My number is 86.
86.
Mm-hmm.
86. Do you have a reason for the number 86?
The year Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl even though it was 85 season. New York Mets won the World Series. And
So sports.
lots of sports.
Sports stuff. 86. And when I was thinking of Agent 86.
Oh, yeah.
Agent 86. I feel like him often. So we got 14, 28, 86. And then I see Jeremy Echuk. How do you say your name, Jeremy?
It's Echuk, just
Echuk.
Chuck.
Very good. Well, if you don't mind my asking, is that of a particular nationality or derivation? Is it German or
It's Polish.
Polish? Okay. Polish. Very good. I've not encountered that name. Thank you. Jeremy, what's your two-digit number?
65.
65. Now, I can think of a good reason that that's a number of interest to many people, as I'm sure Mary can. Is that why you chose it?
I just randomly
Just
guessed.
random. Okay. Jeremy, do you happen to have a watch with a second hand nearby, or a clock, or a cell phone?
What'd you say?
With a second hand. Do you have a timer or a watch with a second hand?
I've got a cell phone.
All right, well, get out your cell phone, open up your stopwatch or your timer or something, because I'm going to ask you to give me 60 seconds. And in 60 seconds, I'm going to try to do something interesting with this grid. And no promises, but we'll see. So when you've got it ready to go, you're going to give me on your mark, get set, go, and I have 60 seconds.
All right. On your mark, get set, go.
Very good. And I'm also going to do this while you are watching, so there's no doubt that I'm not switching this around for anything else. And let's try that. And I'm going to try to do this without repeating a number, but there's no promises. Stop right there. How many seconds was that?
24.
24. I will tell you, in my haste to impress you, I may have rushed this, and so I still have 36 seconds to work with. So I say that if it didn't go well, I reserve the right to use the other 36 seconds to fix it. That seems fair to me. Is that fair?
Sure.
That's more than fair. That's more than fair. I'm way under budget on this. So let's just take a look at this. You gave me 4 random numbers. And in 24 seconds,
Yep.
we filled in the rest of the grid. Let's just take a look and see what happened. Across the top row, we've got 14 and 85 is 99. That makes 163. And 30 is 193. Is that correct, math people? I think it is. So let's look at the second row. 66 and 28 is 80, 94, 110, and 83 is 193. Then we look at the third row. 29 and 63 is 30 and 62, which is 92, 98, 178, 183, and 10 is 193. And 84 and 17 is 90, 101, 128, 133, and 60 is 193. So in 24 seconds, I took your 4 random numbers and made everything, all 4 rows, add up to 193. Pretty cool. But let's look at the columns too. 14, 66, 29, and 84. If you want to add those up, I think you'll find that it adds up to 193. In the second row, 85, 28, 63, and 17, 193. 64, 16, 86, 27, 30, 83, 15, and 65. All 4 rows and all 4 columns add up to the number 193. If you add the numbers you gave me, 14, 28, 86, and 65, that's the target you created for me. But if you look at the other diagonal, 30, 16, 63, and 84, that also adds up to the target you gave me. In fact, the amount of change I have in my pocket is $1.93. That would have been great, wouldn't it? That would have been awesome. Here, take a look. I don't want you to feel like I shortchanged you, so look at the first quadrant. 14, 85, 28, and 66, 193. Second quadrant, 64, 30, 16, 83. Third quadrant, fourth quadrant, and for you sticklers, center quadrant as well. So 4 rows, 4 columns, 2 diagonals, 5 quadrants. And if you look at the opposite pairs on the sides there, those 2 and those 2 are 193, those 2 and those 2 are 193. Diagonally, those 2 and those 2 are 193, those 2 and those 2 are 193. In fact, if you create a tic-tac-toe board of any tic-tac-toe board on the square, and you add the corners, like 14, 64, 86, and 29, that adds up to 193. Or 28, 83, 65, and 17. In fact, if you add the 4 corners of the whole darn thing, you end up with 193. And we did it in 24 seconds, which is pretty darn awesome. So I will wait now for the applause to die down. Okay, no, that's okay. Thank you for. It's really interesting at this point in the program. All the guys are looking really intently, usually at the monitor, and they're like, "Oh wow, that's pretty cool." And most of the women are looking at the monitor and they're thinking, "Gosh, Joe didn't really date much in high school." And it's okay. You can both be correct. That's how it goes. The reason I shared this with you is because of the second thing that I want to change about the way I interact with myself and those around me this year. And that is something that we were all forced to deal with last year, but I think is a continuing process, and that is flexibility. I worked in the live event space. I worked and spoke at conferences and entertained at banquets and galas and emceed all kinds of other meetings. And then all of a sudden, live events are gone. And trying to come back here and there, but I had to jump into a whole new world, as we all did, learning to use virtual to try to take what it is that I have to offer and still get it to people, even though we can't gather in the same room. And it required some banging my head against brick walls to learn the ropes and to acquire some technology and to get the skills to do it. But it meant that even though I was used to getting to my goal in a certain way, when that way was no longer available either permanently or temporarily, I could either stop trying, which many people in my industry did, or I could say, well, what if we add it up this way? I can take, this is the palette of the skills, talents, gifts, networking, connections, experiences professionally, all the resources I have to draw on. And we all get very comfortable with putting them together in a certain way to get to the goal that we need to hit. And I'm just going to say right now, and I think for the rest of this year for sure, flexibility is going to be so important that we give ourselves permission to try something that maybe we haven't touched in a while. We lean on a skill that we forgot about, or we're willing to invest in a new skill in order to make the other pieces fit together the way that they need to so that we can hit our goal. So I'm going to work on focus, and I'm going to work on flexibility. And, I will also say, I went to Mississippi State University. I graduated Summa. And so I hope all of my calculus professors are proud that I can add a grid of numbers in 24 seconds. So we'll just leave that right there. I have one last thing to share with you in the few minutes that I have remaining. And I really, really like this. So if you'll give me just a moment to zoom in. The last thing I'd like to share with you is this little box. This little box doesn't look like much. In fact, it's just cardboard, and it's got a rubber band around it, and inside, it's not even a grand mystery, really. It's more cardboard. It's more cardboard boxes. These are match boxes. Those are the little trays, and these are the little cartons, which you can see. If I line them up, I can make sort of a telescope like that. And I remember the first time I saw someone do something unusual with something so simple. He took these match boxes and he put one tray in the other side, and he held them in almost perfect alignment, and he put the other one in. And I was like, well, what in the world is going to happen? He pushed this in, and it came out the other side. Now, I will tell you, when I saw that, I was baffled. I was a physics major, and so my mind immediately went to, well, he was so precise about the way he held those edges together that maybe there's some kind of seal or sealant on there so that the air pressure is enough to move the boxes with the air pressure in between. That's what I thought. And until he broke the seal, and it still worked. And I will tell you that puzzled me. In fact, I watched him do this. They weren't even touching, they weren't even on the same axis. And whatever he did to one of them, ended up creating some result on the other one. And the right one went down, and the left one went up. And the left one went down, and the right one went up. And it seemed like everything that one did created a response in the other. And I thought about this for a long time because it occurred to me that we're kind of like these boxes. We are connected somehow in ways that we can't see or hope to understand, and yet we still have to live together in the same little box. And so my challenge to myself, my third challenge to myself in the coming months is to practice forgiveness. And I won't even dig into that because I'm sure we can all interpret that the way we need to. But focus, flexibility, and forgiveness are going to be my clarion call for the coming months and this coming year. And I think it will affect the way I interact with my family. I think it will affect the way that I interact with all of my clients. I think it will affect with me and the way that I interact at church and in my community. And all of those things are important. And I just thank you for the invitation to share all of that with you today. I hope you enjoyed the magic and that you were able to take something else valuable away from it as well. That's my time. Thank you.